Hello to everyone watching. I'm James Pendleton. I'm joined by Matt Nixon, and we are from the Babbling Blues Everton podcast. And we've been asked today by Chris Carlin to come on and sort of preview our upcoming fixture against Tottenham in the FA Cup this week. Just before we get started, Matt, how are you doing, and how are you feeling about the upcoming game?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. So obviously, good result against United the other night. In terms of the game, I'm not looking forward to it massively for the most part, because I think it will probably be like a drab 0-0, maybe a goal in it. We'll obviously come on to our score predictions later, but yeah, I can't see it being a great spectacle.
Yeah, absolutely. We were speaking on the Last Word on Spurs podcast last week, and we pretty much said the same thing. And I think I tweeted that it's just going to be a slugfest, a race to go 1-0 up, and then whoever does will probably win. So I don't think it'll be a high scoring affair. But anyway, so Chris has sort of given us a selection of questions to sort of run through, and we'll just start off there with our thoughts on our season so far. I think it's hard to say, because even though we are sort of, we're over halfway through the season now, but because there's been so much disruption, it doesn't feel that way, does it? Certainly not to me anyway. And because there's games in hand and because there's teams dropping points, I think it's going to be really difficult to sort of guess where anyone other than probably City are going to finish this season, because I think they'll finish top. Your general thoughts on our season so far, Matt?
I mean, obviously we had a fantastic start, didn't we? Best start to a league in years, and then it sort of went downhill for a bit for the same period of time that it did to win all them games on the bounce, and then we just sort of ended up evening out as it was, and then started picking up a little run of form again. We just seem to have 3 or 4 half decent games, drop it off slightly. But if you'd have offered me this position at the start of the season, this far through the season, to sit where we are now on the amount of points we are with the games in hand, I'd have bitten your hand off.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be saying that. I think for me, I'm pretty much the same. I'm very pleased. We've gotten to one quarter final already, which obviously doesn't count for anything, but we're looking to get to another, which obviously could count for something. You'd like to think Everton won't finish any lower than 7th, for example, which I think at the start of the season, I think minimum was 7th. Anything above that would have been a really good season. So it's just so difficult to sort of say where anyone's going to finish, because the thing with Spurs and Everton is we've both had times when people were saying, jokingly to a degree, that one of us could win the league. It was Liverpool's league, it was United's, it was City's, literally, like, it was Leicester's. So many teams.
Season's just changed so much, hasn't it, for so many teams? And I think it seems as if it changes even quicker this season, because you're playing every 2 or 3 days almost, aren't you?
Well, I'm not even looking at the table at the minute.
Yeah, because it's that constant and that flat out, and every game's on the telly, so you're digesting a lot more football than you normally would. I mean, the prime examples, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the favourite manager to get sacked one week. The next week, they're 5-2 to win the league. Do you know what I mean? Second favourite is the City to win it. Obviously, they fell off, and the City have piled on since then. But it has been a quite fickle season, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm not going to write anyone off. Or I know I said before, I think City will win the league, because I think they probably will. But what you saying that they won't drop off again? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's so unpredictable. So we'll obviously see where we stand come May. But I think we're both very pleased. Our standout players, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin's been unbelievable. James has been really good for us. Luca Dean's been as good as he has been the last few seasons. But I think maybe for someone who doesn't watch us every week, Michael Keane, Yerry Mina, Ben Godfrey, all 3 of those defenders have been really good. Abdoulaye Doucouré having a really good season. And then again, someone, if you don't watch every week, you wouldn't know that, say, Richarlison's not having a great season, or you may think Gylfi Sigurdsson's really influential on this team, when,
like everyone that does it, Sky and BT, yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, and Spurs fans will know all about Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Big shout to Alan as well, who's probably been as similar as an impact as Højbjerg at Spurs, to be fair, playing in a similar role. We were obviously linked to Højbjerg as well, went for Alan. He's obviously been out for a little bit, but he's been fantastic when he has played.
And hopefully he'll be back for Wednesday. I mean, we don't know yet, but
it's touch and go in it, I think.
Yeah, we'll see, but I think there's been 3 or 4 players who are having really good years, and Yerry Mina and Michael Keane are 2 of my favourite Everton players this season. I just think they're having probably their best ever seasons at the minute. Obviously, Dom Calvert-Lewin definitely is having his best ever season. So I'd say they've DCL, James, Keane, Mina. I think they're probably the standout ones. Dean as well, but he's obviously been injured, so there's been a few.
Yeah, I'd say them 4 and then an honourable mention for Ben Godfrey in at 5th spot, and then the others have obviously been in and out with injuries, etc. You could say the same for James, I suppose, but
No, that's true as well. Obviously, he was missing during the Christmas period. But what are our thoughts on Tottenham, Jose Mourinho, and Spurs this season so far ahead of the game? I think we'll just start with Tottenham. I was thinking about this, Matt, and for me, I think Everton and Tottenham, if you were to compare two Premier League teams, I think the most similar teams in the league are Everton and Tottenham. And certainly going back a few years ago, because I think maybe around 2012-ish, Everton and Spurs were like here, like pretty much neck and neck for me in terms of between about 2004, maybe finishing, both was finishing in the top 6, 7 every season, both having a handful of good players, maybe never quite kicking on. Obviously, Spurs getting to like the League Cup final. We got to the FA Cup final. They won theirs. We obviously didn't. Spurs getting it, should have got into the Champions League. We obviously did get into the Champions League the year before when obviously they should have, but obviously Lasagna Gate occurred. Even going back like the 90s weren't particularly kind to either team. I know Spurs won the FA Cup and the League Cup. Again, we won the FA Cup. Had trouble further down the table, as did we. Honestly, I just think we are so similar. Even stuff like, say, I was just going to say, like, they have Arsenal, we have Liverpool. One's more successful than the other. I think derby games, when I've seen Tottenham, there's been so many derby games I think Tottenham should have won and they just didn't. Same with us. I just think there's so many similarities.
We're a bit of the nearly men, aren't we? I suppose. Like even off the pitch, Tottenham just got a brand new stadium. We'll probably get one in the next 3-4 years. Like there's clear progression, isn't there? Even off the pitch as well. There are a lot of similarities.
Where Tottenham pulled away was when they got Pochettino. That's when
100%. And we got was that Koeman back then?
No, well, it was. I think they got Pochettino in Martinez's second season. I want to say that sounds about right. So or at the end of this, I can't remember, but it was definitely when we had Martinez. So when Spurs should have kicked on, they brought Pochettino in. When we should have kicked on and they brought in Pochettino, they then had someone who could sort of clean up the mess that was left by the Bale money. We then had the Lukaku money, which we messed up as well. I think if you compare the summer when they got Lamela, Kirikes, Capu, what's his name? The Kirikes, Chadley.
Paulinho was in there, wasn't he?
Paulinho, Ericsson. You compare that summer to our 2018 summer, Keane, Pickford, Rooney, Sandro. Honestly, we're so similar. And I just think when they brought in Pochettino, they went here and then we just slowly declined.
And then the two managers after that, you're talking Koeman, Marco Silva, obviously did not end well.
Didn't end well whatsoever. And it was when they started getting the Champions League, that's now where I see us as like there's a gap there now. But for years I felt like we were neck and neck growing up. Always a tough game at Tottenham, but we did win a few. They obviously won a good. We don't have a great record against Tottenham in the last sort of 10 years or so.
No.
So I think there's loads of similarities. Tottenham as well, 2005, 6 and 2011, 12 didn't get into Europe because of Lasagna Gate and because of Chelsea won the Champions League. We also should have been in Europe in the 80s and we were kicked out for no reason of our own. So, another similarity there. It's just, I don't say it's mental, but as I said, they've pulled away now. And now both of us as well have both got managers who have been really successful, have been brought in to win stuff. The similarities just keep going. But
so what are your thoughts on Spurs so far this season then?
It's weird because when we beat them first game of the season, I thought that was, it still is a great result. But I think when...
It looked even better when they threw them string of results together after that game, didn't it?
Oh, I was about to say that because I remember people tweeting stuff like that Spurs result looks better each week. And it's still a great result, don't get me wrong. Absolutely brilliant result. But then when I'm looking at them the last 3 weeks, a month or so, they haven't been very good at all. The game against Brighton was...
Well, they're not playing the same, are they? Like at the start of the season, they were playing like decent attacking football. And I know they've been without Kane for the last couple of weeks, but even before that, they reverted to the mean of a proper Mourinho side, didn't they? Really? Obviously after that game, they went on a good run. I can't remember the results off the top of my head, but they were playing some really good football, weren't they? They weren't just 1-0, drop back, sit, be happy with it.
But they did it. But that's the thing, though. They had like a couple of games where they beat, like for example, the West Ham game, the 3-0 up, cruising. I know it didn't end that way, but cruising. Mourinho, classic, beat the big teams, United, City, beat those teams, win those games, go and draw away at Chelsea, who at that point it was their turn to win the league. I can't remember if I included them earlier or not, but and then go past the smaller teams. They beat the edge past Brighton, they beat Leeds, they beat. I said they were beating West Ham. Obviously, didn't win in the end, but that's what kind of felt like classic Mourinho. And
did you buy into that whole rhetoric at the time that they could be serious title contenders? Because I did to an extent.
I absolutely did. And people were saying, "Oh, well, Tottenham can't win the league. How can Tottenham win the league at the minute?" I'm like, well,
when you look at the squad, though, obviously they got the likes of Kane and Son are just, in my opinion, world class. Kane's probably the best player in the league for me.
Up there with Kevin De Bruyne for sure.
And then I expected a bit more from Bale, if I'm honest. I don't know whether that's just a bit of a nostalgic mindset from myself. Maybe Spurs fans weren't so optimistic. I'm not too sure. But yeah, the stars seemed to align a bit, didn't they? And then the football just got more and more pragmatic as the game sort of went on.
Yeah, I mean, the Wolves game,
whether that was a result of that West Ham game, maybe the fact that they were 3 up and shipped 3, maybe just thought this can't happen, sort of thing. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, as I say, the games recently, the Brighton one, I think their XG was something like 0.03. Their XG in the Liverpool game was awful. Højbjerg scored an absolute worldie. And I think that might have been their only shot on target. I can't remember. I know Spurs fans don't want to really live any of this, but you've got to sort of give our thoughts on it. So I just think it's been a case of I've read some really negative stuff about Mourinho, and I remember there was something to do with a manual that he had, which was his attacking plans, like a dossier of attacking plans for the season. And apparently,
attacking plans.
Well, apparently, it doesn't exist.
It's just written on the back of a fag packet.
I don't know, honestly, but apparently, it doesn't exist, and they don't do any work going forward or in possession. It's all about sitting back. And I remember the Wolves game when they won the up inside. I think it was like 50 seconds or something. Ndombele scored, I believe. And then they equalised in the 82nd minute. And I'm like, why did you sit back for 80 minutes when you didn't need to?
You're just inviting it, aren't you? You can understand to an extent, but that's, I don't know. Just seems a bit daft to me.
Yeah, I get what you mean. That brings on to Jose Mourinho then. I mean, for me, growing up, hated Mourinho because he always beat them. Oh, well, look, I couldn't do it.
I used to love his interviews and everything. I just thought he was amazing. That first spell at Chelsea, I just thought he was great value.
Like, looking back on that's box office. That first spell at Chelsea, like the giving it all that down the cop. I loved it. But
quality.
Yeah. He then went to Inter Milan. He was brilliant there. Went to Real Madrid and sort of, to get a league title at the time when Barcelona were the best team potentially to ever exist. A very good feat. He then went back to Chelsea, and I think the job he did at Chelsea could have been similar to the job he does at Tottenham, where he had some good players, and then he went and got Costa, and he got Fabregas, and then Courtois came back as well, I think, and they just blitzed the league in 2014-15. Yeah. Wheels fell off 15-16, then went to United. He wasn't very good there. Did win a couple of trophies.
See, you say that, but like he wins trophies everywhere he goes. His record at United wasn't that bad. I just don't think United were happy with the football he played, which is a similar story at Real Madrid. He won a lot of Real Madrid nigh on, and they just weren't happy that he wasn't playing the Real Madrid way or whatever. But you know that when you hire a man like Jose Mourinho, he is quite Marmite. He probably split a lot of Spurs fans at the start, especially with the Chelsea history, I imagine. But you know what you're getting. Yeah. Like if he doesn't win a trophy within 2-3 years, that's quite rare, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think, but that's the question Spurs fans have got to answer. That's something I'd quite like to know, to be fair. Is this football? Because I think 10, 15 years ago, you could go to, if you're looking to win the league and you go away to United, you go away to Chelsea, you go away to Liverpool, Arsenal, if you draw those games, that's fine. Beat them at your place and just steamroll the small teams. Now, because the league's so competitive, you can't just go and steamroll the small teams. I watched Chelsea last night against Sheffield United. I don't think Sheffield United had a shot on target, and it was 1-1. Like, you can't just go and steamroll these small teams now the way Mourinho, I feel like he used to do, and then he would use the pragmatism to get results against the bigger sides when he was at Chelsea. Is that football worth a League Cup to Tottenham? For me, absolutely not. Is it worth them challenging for the league, challenging for the Champions League? Absolutely. But if he wins the League Cup and doesn't win anything next season, then it's not been worth 15 million quid a year, has it? Because Spurs have won 2 League Cups in the last 30 years. So, they want leagues, they want Champions Leagues as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people might view it as maybe regression after being in the Champions League final with Pochettino. If the case was they finished 4th, 5th this season, maybe with no silverware. I don't know. It's a hard one because he will win. He'll win something there.
I'd be surprised if he does. But obviously in the League Cup final, still in the Europa League. Is it worth the Europa League? I don't know.
I mean, I from an Everton perspective, I'd take your hand off if we finished 16th and won the League Cup.
Oh, yeah, I know. But yeah, very true. And
not every season. Do you know what I mean? There's a one-off.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely. Just finally as well, I was thinking about Daniel Levy, how in the Spurs documentary. Did you watch that? I assume you did.
You know what? I didn't get to the end of it.
Oh,
I think I missed a couple off at the end. I have been meaning to finish it.
That's terrible from you.
Oh, no.
But anyway, well, you might have seen the bit when Daniel Levy said there are 2 great coaches in football. One is at another Premier League club. One's Jose Mourinho. And all I take from that is he doesn't rate one of Guardiola or Klopp.
Yeah.
Just like, oh God, Daniel. Yeah, quite the fella in. But anyway, which Tottenham players worry us? I think I don't need to be a mind reader to know only 2 players properly worry me.
There's the 2 obvious ones, isn't it, really? I mean, yeah, I mean, they don't offer, there's not too much else going forward, is there, really?
But they haven't, but that's what I mean. At the start of the season, they didn't really need that, did they?
But they don't need it now. I mean, you're saying that if they don't work on attacking drills or whatever, like when you've got players of the quality of that, and have they combined for the most Premier League goals now? Did they beat Drogba and Lampard's record? I'm sure they did. If not, they were close.
Whenever I watch Spurs play and I've got fancy football notifications on, it comes through: Kane goal, Son assist, goal, Kane assist. That's all it is. The only other player from an attacking perspective is Ndombele, who I think is a top player. We were saying on last week on Spurs.
He's really coming into his own as well now, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with that because I think he's a real top player. I think Reguilon's a great left back. I think he's injured, isn't he? So I don't think that's too much of a worry.
Or he has a liability on the other side. I think we could get at him.
Yeah, he's only just come back into the fold.
It'll be interesting to see. We'll obviously come on to we'll have a little predicted lineup guess, but we're sort of guessing that Josh King might line up on the left wing instead of a Richarlison just to give him a full debut, aren't we, really? Which would be interesting. You might be able to cause Aurier a bit of problems on that side.
I mean, assuming it is Aurier, but I'd say Matt Doherty couldn't even get in the team at right wing back last week against Brighton. That's how badly that's gone.
Such a weird transfer, that, because like
good.
Both Wolves and Spurs would have been better off if Doherty stayed put.
Yeah.
And Semedo stayed at Barca because he's poor. Like Doherty's he fits Wolves so much better than he does Spurs. I don't think anyone benefited from that transfer.
Well, other than Barcelona.
Other than Barcelona, yeah.
Yeah, Barcelona, and also apparently, I'm sure Doherty's agent and Semedo's agent and the people who are in with Wolves, it's all a bit.
Yeah.
And Mourinho as well, Portuguese men, all that stuff. I don't want to get into that, but Kane and Son, they're the 2 main ones. So, score predictions and our lineup. We'll start with the lineup. I think when we were speaking on last week on Spurs, we said
we had a 4-3-3, didn't we?
4-3-3, yeah. Pickford if he's fit in goal. And then we had Coleman because we don't want Holgate up against Son. Absolutely not. No tar. Then we had Mina and Godfrey centre half, Dean left back. And then midfield 3, we had Davis anchoring, but if Alan's fit, then maybe he goes in there. Or it was Davis, Gomez, and Decore, and then Alan instead of Gomez, I think we said.
Yeah. Davis, Alan, Decore, and then obviously Davis or Gomez are interchangeable if Alan is there or not.
But I mean, I'll be surprised though because I think he was meant to be fit for the United game and he wasn't even on the bench, so I'd be surprised.
He started training on Friday, I believe, so he could be in contention. I'm unsure.
I'd like to think so, but I think it's a hamstring injury, isn't it? So you don't want to risk them.
Yeah,
do you?
I imagine he'd at least be on the bench.
Well, yeah. And then the front 3 we had King, Calvert-Lewin, and James. So again, but the thing is though, I think the same is probably you can probably say the same about Mourinho. I feel like the tactical setup and the formation with Ancelotti and Mourinho, because it's so interchangeable, it feels like, I might be wrong with Mourinho, but certainly as with Ancelotti, it's so hard to predict it, isn't it? We've said this for weeks.
Yeah, It's so hard. I mean, we have a laugh on our podcast, literally trying to
We
do
have
this.
lots of laughs on the podcast, you.
But trying to predict this, like, it's so hard. I mean, some of his substitutions are even worse than the lineup themselves. So, I mean, normally the lineup comes out, Everton tweet it, and it's just it's not even in number order, it's not in position order. And James and myself are just texting each other trying to decipher this absolute car crash what we're about to witness. Then we go out and win or whatever. So we never complain, but it's quite a challenge, isn't it? So we're probably miles off here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's potential as well that Alex Iwobi could play because he's been very good over the Christmas period. I think it's fair to say. So
he may have more of a shouting king in at left wing. I don't know. Maybe it's just us being a bit hopeful and to see the new signing have a crack, maybe.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. I say it's quite difficult, but anyway, last question we got here. Then both teams haven't won silverware for so long. Why? That is, I'd call that like the $1 million question, but for us, it's probably.
I think it's quite simple that they both haven't been good enough.
That's true.
I think in both dressing rooms, I don't think there's been a real winning mentality in it. We've both been quite easily rolled over in a lot of games, in a lot of big games. We've both bottled it. I mean, there's even a phrase of they've Spursed it, or that's Spursy. Same with Everton. That. Yeah. It's quite similar, but I think these two new managers at the helm now, in Jose Mourinho and Carlo Ancelotti, are the right men to turn around that mentality in both dressing rooms and instill a real winning mentality into both sides. I think it's exciting times for both Tottenham and Everton at the moment.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, that's like the $1 million question, but for us, it's like the $160 million question because we've just thrown money at the wall and we haven't got any closer to actually winning something. As I say, I do think, quite simply, for a long time, Everton weren't good enough. As I say, we were lucky to have won the Cup in '95 because how often does a team get taken over in the bottom three and then they strike gold on a manager like that with Joe Royle? Then they make it. He gets this ragtag bunch of misfits and makes them into like one of the most beloved Everton teams because of how hard they worked and the fact that they took us from the brink of relegation to the Cup and then on the cusp of Europe till Joe Royle left, when obviously Peter Johnson should have left. Then Howard Kendall came back and that didn't work. Again, nearly relegated. Then Walter Smith came in, nearly relegated. Kevin Campbell saving us in '99. Then we had some safe years under Walter Smith. He then left. Moyes came in. To be fair, Moyes did give it a crack, like, trying to get into, like, we should have got to the quarterfinal of the UEFA Cup, and then I think that was the year Zenit won it, wasn't it? I think, and we beat them in the group. Yeah. So that sounds about right. FA Cup 2009 should have won that. FA Cup semi-final 2012 should have got to the final. 2015-16 got to the semi-final of the Cup again, got beat last minute by United. I think, to be fair, both sides have been unlucky and also haven't been quite good enough. With Spurs as well, like, getting to the Champions League final, that was an incredible achievement. That, like, the way they beat that unbelievable Ajax team, and then the Reds get a pen after about 40 seconds, which was rather dubious. Made the worst possible start. So yeah, I just think been a bit unlucky, but for a long time, both teams haven't been good enough, as you say. But yeah, I mean, what would you call Tottenham's trophy? Would you call it a drought? Because if theirs is a drought, what's ours? Like, it's gone on for like 13 years longer.
Yeah, ours is like in the midst of a desert somewhere, isn't it? Under some horrible little cactus.
Under like a dead like camel or something. So like under there, you got like Moyes and Marner trying to
Someone's already skinned the camel, took all the innards out. There's nothing there. That's Everton.
Yeah, that's where we are at the minute. But as you do rightfully say, though, I think both teams have got the best manager to win a trophy. As I say, is that going to be enough for Tottenham because of the way they're playing? I don't know. That's, again, for Tottenham fans to answer. But I think I am as optimistic as I've ever been that Everton can win a trophy. And I just think that if, for example, like the League Cup quarter-final against United, I know United were on an unbelievable run away from home and what have you, but we played Arsenal, Chelsea and Leicester. We had no James, we had no Alan. We were just goosed all over the park, and then they scored in the last minute. Knackered.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was just a bit unfortunate, but we started to get through 2 rounds, so it's not like it. We'd be playing Spurs in the final, actually, if we managed to do that. I'll say 1 round we'd have to get through to get to the final, but yeah, so I think that's about all we've got for Chris there. So yeah, we think we finish on a 1-0. But it will be a tough game.
We're both in for a 1-0, aren't we? I personally can't see it being a great spectacle. This is in before it ends up being another 3-3.
I could have seen that though, to be fair. But I think if there's more than one goal, I'll eat my hat in this game. But we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening to us. And yeah, we'll see what happens on Wednesday.